Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Subhash Chandra. In this video, we are going to discuss about how a fresher in piping should prepare for piping design interviews. And this video will not only useful for freshers, this video will also be useful for anyone who are preparing for piping design interviews, who could be a beginner, who could be engineers with a very less experience of 2 to 3 years of experience, or a complete fresher who are just into the piping engineering domain. So please make use of these videos. In this video, we are going to discuss about certain areas that you have to go through, you have to study before your interview in order to prepare for the interview. So without wasting time, let's get started. The first area that I would like to highlight is that aware about the international standards. You should know how many international standards and codes we are following in the piping design engineering. For example, ASME B31.3 is international code for process piping design basically. Likewise, you have many other standards in the sense you have a dimensional standards, you have material standards. Length of the fittings are taken from specific standards, length of flanges are taken from specific standards, and length of the valves are taken from different standards. Basically, you must know what are the dimensional standards and what are the material standards we are using in the process piping design actually. Generally, freshers don't give much importance in these areas before going to an interview. But it is wise enough to know these areas because this is the basis for all piping engineering design. So you must aware about these areas. So please focus and please prepare before your interview. And the second area that I would like to highlight is that piping inputs. You must aware about what are the different types of piping input you may have to use while you are preparing for piping design. For example, one of the primary input is the PNID. So you must know what is PNID, how to read the PNID, what are the different symbols in PNID. And the second input I would say is the piping spec. You can also say is a piping material specification or piping class. Different companies uses different terminologies, but the document seems to be one actually. Basically, piping material specification is something where you have a list of fittings and with codes and specifications, sizes, and the recommended materials, those things basically. So you must know what is these inputs are and how to read these inputs. You must have a clear-cut idea why you need this input basically. And another thing is that you can consider as an equipment arrangement drawings or plot plan, or you can also consider project specification or any client standard. So these are the inputs. Basically, you have to aware about what are the different types of inputs that you need to refer while you are preparing for a piping design. And the third area that I would like to highlight is fittings and valves. You must well aware about all the fittings, all types of fittings, all types of valves actually. You don't have to know the specification of these fittings, but you should aware about different types of fittings actually. Say for example, in flanges, you have different flanges. In valves, you have different valves actually. In fittings, you have different types of fittings are there. T, elbows, cross, and O-ledge. There are different items are there. You must have this in-depth knowledge in fittings and valves. You do not know about, you do not need to know about too much into the specification of the material, but you should know about all types of fittings and flanges because this video is specifically for the freshers actually. So that is one of the reasons why I am not insisting to go into the depth. But the mandatorily you should aware about different types available in fittings and valves. Now let's go to the fourth area. The fourth area is pipe routing basis actually. Generally in interview you will be asked about what is the basis of interview. Please tell me what are the parameters that you will consider while routing for a particular line or routing for a piping for pumps or any kind of equipment. So basically you have to know the common basis, fundamental basis of pipe routing so that you will be able to answer that question actually. The interviewer will try to understand what kind of design knowledge that you have actually. If you are interested to learn, if you are willing to learn about pipe routing, I have already made a special course in my website. You can go to my website. I'll give the link of my the course in the description of this video so that you will be able to refer that course actually. This course covers pipe routing design guidelines for different areas, different equipments, and all throughout the process plant areas basically. This course will give you a very diversified experience to understand about what is pipe routing and how you should start building your the pipe routing considering certain engineering factors. So now we will go to the fifth area. The fifth area I would like to talk about is the modeling potential. See, many of the freshers who start their career in piping, they start as a designer in 3D modeling or any other softwares basically. Basically, this topic is about the modeling potential. So, if you are working in particular 3D modeling software, you must have a good potential in the software. Let's tell you in this way actually. You must be able to tell the interviewer that you had spent these many hours. So how you will be able to spend, how you will be able to tell this information to the interviewer. You must have to have a track basically. Say for an example, if you're practicing 2 hours in a day, so in a month, so 2 hours into 30 days, it is nearly around 60 hours. Likewise, you have to say that quantification of the total modeling hours you have spent. Because since you are a fresher, you did not work anywhere actually, but in order to show the potential, how you can show? You can show only in this way. You should say that I have worked in modeling for these many hours during my self-preparation actually. So this much hours I have worked in modeling, so I have an ability to do an efficient modeling. That is how you should respond to the interviewer. And also you must be capable of modeling within a short span during your testing. Generally in most interviews you will be given a modeling test actually and try to increase your speed. Try to increase your speed in such a way that nobody can meet. So when you are doing your self-preparation, you should improve your speed. Let's take some equipments or piping, or you can check the type of tests that are conducted from your institutes, and you can ask them to guide how many equipments and how many. You can get some drawings and PNIDs and piping drawings so that you will be able to use that as a practice for your modeling ability for to improve your timing in the testing. So basically 2 things you have to focus. You have to focus on the total hours that you have spent actually. You should be able to tell the specific hours that you have spent. If you are practicing for 1 year, so you must consider the total hours in terms of 2 hours per day, so that the amount of hours will just inform the interviewer that you are capable to do modeling. You should not say any wrong figures that you have not practiced. So I am telling to have a genuine practice so that it will improve your modeling capability. And moreover, when you have this total modeling capability, and at the same time you should have the testing capability also, so that you will finish the modeling within a short time before others actually. So these are the 2 things that you have to focus. Now comes to the drafting potential. Likewise, though you are a 3D model, you should also have the drafting potential. If you are working in a 3D model, you should have the 2D capability also. So how many hours you spent in 2D? So how many hours you can finish the 2D work? Let's say you are given a test actually, you should be able to finish as fast as possible. So once again, in drafting also, you need to have the total number of hours that you have during your self-preparation, how much hours you have spent. You basically need to have a track of it so that you will be able to inform the interviewer without any flaw basically. So you should have the total hours for drafting, and also you should have the capability to finish the drafting test within a short time. So these things that you have to do is self-preparation. Then the 7th actually. 7th is the prepare mock projects. So when I say mock projects, I genuinely understand that you cannot have the genuine experience unless you work in any company. But you can inform the interviewer that you have did a mock projects. Mock projects, how you can get it? You can check with the institutes and ask them to provide some mock projects actually. Try to model that equipment, try to route that piping, try to provide a piping support. Likewise, you start building a mock projects for, multiple mock projects. Say for an example, a minimum of 3 to 5 basically. So you should get these drawings and documents from your institutes and ask them to guide how I can prepare a mock projects, so that you will be able to, you will be modeling different equipments in different location, and you will be interconnecting these equipments using pipes, and you will be providing the pipe supports, and you will have some basis that you have read during the course actually, or from your piping knowledge that you have studied from books or anywhere. So you should have this mock projects. You can inform the interviewer during the interview that you have did some mock projects, which is somewhere around 3 to 4 mock projects, and I have built these many equipments and these many pipings, these many supports. This is the quantification that you have to give to gain the confidence of the interviewer. Now let's go to the next area. Next area is that read books. Read books not only to understand the design, read books to understand the different areas in process piping. Let's take an example. There are steam traps. there are strainers, there are special types of pipe supports, there are expansion loops, there are thermodynamics, there are thermal expansion, there are different materials are used, there are different areas in piping actually. So please complete the books that I have referred in my previous videos actually, so you will be able to understand the different areas in piping. Because when an interviewer asks something, even if you do not know the particular subject in depth, you should at least heard of something, right? You must at least have a basic idea of what he is speaking. You should not be completely blank actually. That is why I insist to read books, so that you will be able to understand at least these areas are already there in the process of piping, which is one of the important area. That is why the interviewer is asking. So you should tell them that I have read about this, I have a common basic knowledge, but I do not have the working experience, so I cannot tell more than this. So this is what I have read. So you should be able to confidently say that what you have read. So for that you have to study well, you should have a good memory power and keep doing, keep studying, so that you will remember during the interview. If you don't study continuously, you will not be able to remember it actually. So please read the books to understand different areas in process piping design. Now let's go to the ninth area. Ninth area is about try to aware about the different types of deliverables issued in piping design. Basically, the role of piping designer or piping design engineer is to deliver the piping design deliverables. So you must aware about what are the different types of piping deliverables that we should issue. Basically, plot plan, equipment arrangement drawings, piping layouts and 3D models, isometrics, MTO, nozzle orientation drawings. So these are the basic, the piping deliverables that you have to issue. So you should aware about why these equipments, why these drawings are issued and what is the purpose of this, drawings actually, so that you will be able to confidently speak up when the interviewer asks. You don't need to aware about how to prepare actually. At least you should aware that these are the design documents that are issued in the engineering package in piping design. So that much only the interviewer expect you. So interviewer will not expect you to speak more about the complete way of preparing the drawing, because you are just a fresher or you may be having 1 or 2 years of experience. So he will just try to understand whether you have a good idea about the deliverables that we are generally using in the piping design. And the last area that I would like to highlight is that have an area of interest in piping design. In piping design, we have different areas. Layout planning is one area, and pipe stress and piping materials and constructions actually, and preparing the specifications, equipment specification, valve specification, data sheet basically, and engineering reports. There are different areas are available. Pipe support is one of the areas. So you must have an area of interest, so that when you convey this information into an interview, definitely you will get such a questions actually. At the same time, when you say that you have an area of interest actually, you also need to have, you should possess some knowledge about the area that you're talking about, right? So that is why you have to cultivate all this habit. When you say that I have an interest in this particular area, the interviewer will definitely ask you a question that why and what and tell me how actually. So you have to tell them that this is why I interested in this particular area. For example, generally most piping design engineers interested in layout planning, because layout planning is one of the integrated activity that has to be coordinated with different disciplines. You need to handle the different inputs. So it's a little complicated activity and a more interesting activity, and it needs more focus also. Basically, those who are good in layout planning can execute the jobs efficiently. That is one of the reasons why layout planning is considered one of the most favorite area for piping design engineers. So these are the 10 areas that you have to prepare before going to any piping design interviews, because these areas are considered to be an inevitable piping design fields. So once you do a preparation in these areas, it will help you to perform better in the piping interviews actually. So interviewer will also have a confidence on you, saying that you have at least a good conceptual ideas of various areas in piping and the deliverables and the fittings and valves, so international standards. So this is the kind of preparation that you have to do. So please go through this video without skipping all these areas actually. Try to focus on these 10 areas which will give you an enormous support for your interview preparation. So I will meet you in another fantastic video. Until then, bye from Subhash Chandra.